Good morning and welcome to Connecticut Trails Day 2020. Now last year I was fortunate enough to do a group hike with Matt Jobin from Reach Your Summit, but this year it's going to be a solo thru hike of the Nipmuck Trail. So I'm here at the eastern terminus and we're going to be hiking over today and tomorrow up to the Massachusetts border. It's going to be, I think, about 36 miles, so let's get started. This end of the trail passes through old pines in between active hay fields on either side. You can actually see some of the bales there. Just about a mile into the hike, we are reaching our first viewpoint, which is of Mansfield Hollow Lake. We are about 2 miles into the hike now, reaching Bassett's Bridge Road, and we are going to cross over it to the Mansfield Hollow boat launch and state park. Here we're passing through the Mansfield Hollow picnic area. While Mansfield Hollow is one of the more popular areas along the trail, the Nipmuck Trail through the park is actually pretty quiet. We've passed through Mansfield Hollow proper. We're going to cross over Route 89 and into the Iron Bridges section of the Nipmuck. The reason it's called the Iron Bridges section is because of these iron bridges. This is the southern one, which was put here in 1999, actually. Yeah, in 1999, and it was relocated from the road over the Mount Hope River. And you get this nice view. This is the northern bridge. Slightly smaller. This one was installed in 1997 and came from Cider Mill Road. We head up and away from the Fenton River, though we'll rejoin it shortly to cross Chaffeeville Road and leave Mansfield Hollow behind us and enter the 50-foot cliff section. And here we come to 50-foot cliff, which is probably the best overlook on the Nipmuck Trail. And I think a perfect stop to take a break. Now just past 50 foot is the trail junction between the eastern branch that I just came up and the western branch. And how about I try and sum up that 5-mile section in 60 seconds or less. The western branch starts here, just off of Pudding Lane, what's known as the Sawmill Brook Preserve, which of course follows Sawmill Brook for a stretch. Then you cross over into Wolf Rock, which is preserved by Joshua's Trust, to Wolf Rock Overlook, with its perched erratic and this view. Crossing over Crane Hill Road into this little bit of a jumbled mess. Pass along the side of someone's yard. Cross over Browns Road and enter into Schoolhouse Brook Park. Just over a half mile later, you cross over Clover Mill Road, which is extremely verdant right now. Passes a couple of old chimney foundations and small cascades to the main area of Schoolhouse Brook Park with Bicentennial Pond, and the trail switches over to a crushed stone path. Pretty quickly you leave the stone path and are back on real trail again. You exit Schoolhouse Brook Park alongside private property to begin a short road walk to cross over Route 195 to pass just behind the Mansfield Historical Society Museum, which brings us back to the 50-foot cliff area, gradually downhill right to the trail junction. I haven't hiked it yet, so how was it? Alright, now we head down towards the Chaffeeville silk mill section. From here on out, a number of the sections will be the lesser used. We are coming to what I'm told is actually a bridge abutment. What's up, Mallard? This specific section of the trail has some pretty good silk history. And in what is it, 1826, 3 out of 4 households in Mansfield were raising silkworms for silk. And they were producing as much as 50 pounds per year. If you want to dig into something a little bit further, I'm sure you've heard of the Dutch tulip mania, but check out the black mulberry craze of the 1830s and 40s. And here the trail crosses paths with the Gurleyville grist mill. This section passes this small pond with a picturesque stone bridge to an island, and the Torrey Preserve, which has a short loop trail past that field there. From here we have another road crossing into the University of Connecticut owned Fenton Tract. Just mile after mile of peaceful Fenton scenery. I caught word that this section was slowly getting flooded by beavers. I believe there is a temporary reroute that happened sometime around 2018 around this mess, but I wanted to at least attempt the original route. Hopefully, we'll be able to pass through without getting too wet feet. We've made it a good portion in so far, and have to very carefully work our way. Whew, okay, so I think we are through the worst of it and dry feet. So that is fantastic. This section's pretty overgrown in general, but I think should be smooth sailing. We are just leaving the Fenton Tract now, and this is our first road walk section. I think we're gonna stop right up here at the Mason's Mill site, which is one of the Joshua's Trust properties, and have a quick lunch. Joshua's Trust has certainly done some work clearing the area and even put in a nice little picnic table, which is why I knew I should stop here. Now we get to have a little lunch. I think we're about 12, I don't know, halfway through. We're halfway into the hike. I'm not gonna put this in the movie. A nice quick lunch and break. We are just shy of 13 miles into the hike, and that means we've got, give or take, 9 miles left to go. This is the road walk section along Route 44, and we're gonna turn across the road just up ahead. You come off 44 there's a sign, so you can't miss the turn. There's also a couple of arrows, and then you follow this trail along the driveway here, and here we are back on the Fenton. And there are town-owned lands, the Talmadge Tract and the Royal Knowlton Preserve, both of which we either pass through or by. And there's a nice loop hike using those three in this area. And this is also one of our last glimpses of the Fenton River after hiking with it for several miles. We're now going to turn away from it. Pretty amazing that we could hike all that way and only cross a couple of roads and see a couple of houses, but from here on out we are going to exchange river views for forest, ferns, and rocks. Here is the Talmadge Spur Trail. Alright, we're crossing Mason's Road into the Royal Knowlton Preserve. Just crossed over the road, I can't remember the name, maybe Perry, just past the Royal Knowlton Preserve. And I think this stretch of trail is one of only 2 that I've never hiked before, so that's something neat. There's been one real wood bridge, and it's mostly just these stone and log combos over muddy areas in this section. It took me a while to figure out, but I actually have hiked this section before. This is the first section that I hiked with Steve from CTMQ, and it's not short. I think it's about 3 miles, 2.7. It's just that when we started, the trail was in a different place. It's been relocated since then. So the very first bit was unrecognizable, but all this since, like heading down onto what must be this old road, that's all pretty familiar. Got a nice little campsite and fire pit using these quarried blocks that I've seen a couple of spots in the recent mile or so. So this is Route 74. Thankfully I've got a reasonable crossing that's nice and clear and don't have to dodge 70-mile-an-hour traffic. Cool route system. So according to this sign, we're actually entering the Natchog State Forest. My addition to the Perry Hill logbook. Nature finds a way. Kinda zoned out in this last section here. There's a couple of miles. And this road crossing brought me back to it's another road that I can't remember the name of. We are leaving the woods and our second real road walk of the hike today. So that was Oaks Road, and this is Route 89, and just up ahead is Iron Mine Lane. So we turned off Iron Mine Lane, which is a dead end, and onto this old woods road that apparently gets used ever so often. And the reason it's called Iron Mine Lane is because this area was harvested for bog iron around the Revolutionary War period. Got these old foundations buried in the ferns just off the trail here. We do have one quick detour. Thankfully it's a very short one, but it is to Pixie Falls, which normally you should be able to hear from here. Oh yeah, real slow. The last thing we're going to note for our hike today, I've actually improved this sign since the last time I was here, is that this section of the Nipmuck was part of the old Connecticut path. And there's a guy, I think his name is Jason, who tracked and I think hiked the length of what used to be the old Connecticut path, which I think is right through here. So I'll put a link to his project below. And just a bit beyond that, here we have our camp for the evening. Set up the tent, get a little fire going, hang out. Should be pretty nice. So just a quick recap of the day. I did about 21 or 22 miles. Started around 8 a.m. and it took me about till 5 p.m. So 9 hours to get 21 miles. Got a couple hours until sunset, and I'll probably turn in as soon as it gets dark. It's almost 9 o'clock now, and the fire has long since gone down to embers. So I think it is time to call it a night. So good night and see you in the morning. Good morning. It's a little after 5. I slept pretty good. Woke up several times, but that's to be expected. I'm mostly packed up already, and we've got a little over 14 miles today, so gonna have to get after it. Alright, so camp is clear, and let's get on the trail. Should be able to get some water from down here. After getting some water, our first stop of the day is Ladies' Room Rock, which is that big one right there. And there's no information about who named it, but obviously the name is descriptive. Not a whole lot to say about it other than it's here to see or use. And just past Ladies' Room Rock is the junction with the Nipmuck Trail, which heads about 18 miles in that direction and heads all the way to Goodwin State Forest in Hampton. I was just in a tick surveillance area, and unofficially 0 ticks. So that's pretty nice. Now I think, yep, from here in the next section or two, we are going to be in the Yale forest. So we're heading down into Boston Hollow, and we've just come off this set of stairs, and there's a message. By now you are visiting a place that you see all too infrequently, yet it is a major part of who you are. Interesting, no? Also, danger, walk. This is nice, a recent upgrade. You've got a little kiosk that's new, and show you the next section that we'll do from Boston Hollow Road to Barlow Mill Road. And it's a pretty steep climb to start up that. We probably haven't even gone a quarter of a mile, but you can see the road all the way down there. This is the Boston Hollow overlook. Hiking through this section has been hilly, hill to valley, usually with a little stream like this at the bottom, and then up another hill, which, yep, we've got another one coming up here, and then down into another valley, and lots and lots of cobwebs. So we are just about done with this Boston Hollow section that I've been on for a couple miles now, and looks like we are entering the Bigelow Brook little woodlot managed by Hull Forest Products. So we have made it out of the Yale Forest onto Barlow Mill Road, and I think it's a short little road walk into the next stretch. So it was a short, very short, 0.1 mile, re-entering Yale Forest. Gained quite a bit of elevation through this section, at least 4 long climbs, and we are still climbing. We've been descending pretty steadily for a bit now, so I bet we are getting close to Route 71, which means we'll be crossing into Bigelow Hollow. If I remember right, the guidebook calls this an outdoor classroom, likely for the Yale Forestry School. There's a number of posts all throughout the woods here, and then numbered posts in this section of trail. Crossing Route 71. So we do have a little shoulder parking here, and then the trail goes down and into Bigelow Hollow, which means that we have about 3 miles left of our hike to the Massachusetts border. Here we have it, our first glimpse of the southern end of Breakneck Pond. Now we just have to get to the other end. There are actually people at both the campsite and the lean-to along the water here, and so in order to respect their privacy I didn't film the two sites. So If I can dig up some pictures of them, I'll put them up. Final stretch. This old roadway right alongside the water. And here it is. The Connecticut border. That means 36 and change miles from Mansfield to the Massachusetts border. That is the Nipmuck Trail complete. Let's see if I got the energy to do this. Just barely. See you next time. Ugh.